V.M.O.S.T. It's a change management process that I got introduced to about a couple of years ago. I was working up in Scotland with a company called Registers of Scotland. It's the Scottish Land Registry, the equivalent of. And it just seemed that one of those common sense things that you don't think of until someone tells you about it. And I thought I have to start doing something with this. It's kind of where this talk came from. So I'm going to start off with a bit of an introduction about me and where I've actually come from and how I've got to the point that I'm at now. I graduated, as people did, back in the late 90s and thought, well, my degree's lovely, but it's worth nothing. Joined the dot-com boom, headed off down to London, hence Big Ben in there, and ended up writing a lot of this stuff. Moved on, bit of database work, way too many projects over quite a few years, and ended up in the land of Agile. In the course of all that, ended up working with some people like these, from some places like it. Except back then it was Anderson's. I think they stopped being Anderson's some time back. Quite a long time back.
Probably before the millennium.
Yeah. And it was before the millennium. It was late 90s, and it was the days of sharp suits and whatever else, and hence the looks there. Learned a lot as I was going through, but one thing it bugged me all the way through there. It's why do we need consultants to implement change? Because everywhere I went, we always seem to have consultant for this, consultant for that. So why is that? First off, is it some sort of black magic? Or is it something that only really clever people can do? I just didn't know. But I really wanted to find out, because that seemed to be a common factor with all of them. Sometime later, after a lot more of this good stuff, and this time I'm working more with people like this, because they're from places like these. And if you haven't worked with places like these, do get in touch with them. They're absolutely brilliant organisations to work with. I'm not saying that Accenture isn't. Just a different flavour of brilliant. Working with these guys, had my eureka moment, if you like, probably 10 years back, that sort of time. There wasn't any black magic about it, and you don't need to be a genius, although in fairness, quite a lot of them really are. The big secret about this whole thing is that people keep making the same mistakes, and they make them over and over and over again. We have this great vision. I mean, business leaders, brilliant. Oh, fantastic, I'm going to do that, I'm going to sell this, it's going to be brilliant. And they're quite good at the team tactics, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we can juggle this, and we can do that, and then we'll make this much money over here, then I can redeploy these people, and that's all good stuff as well. But what's missing is the bit in the middle, and they just don't hang together properly. So, how do we fix this is the question I was trying to address, probably about 10 years back, like I say. Does anyone recognise this chap? Now, it's a bit of a long shot, I'm not sure if you would or not. It's a chap called John Cotter. He was a leading light in business, well, still is a leading light in business change. He's a professor at Harvard Business School, and in 1996, and the reason that sticks in my head is it's when my journey started on this path, he wrote this book called Leading Change. And he sets out a series of principles based on his observations, I think, as he describes it, of over 100 different organisations going through different change processes and whatever else, things that they've all had in common, and all the change transformations of every flavour. What are the guiding things that you need? And he ended up with something called Cotter's 8 Steps. They start from sort of establishing a sense of urgency, then building a guiding coalition to drive it through the business, creating a vision of where you want to get to, communicating that vision down through the organisation, empowering others, hence we're talking about this cultural thing, echoing a lot of what Stephen said. So empowering others to make the changes, start getting some short-term wins in so that you can demonstrate that this change has actually got a chance. Consolidating the gains that you've made so that we can start really winning. And then the final bit, which is hugely important, and I'm going to echo everything that's detailed about this, embedding cultural changes. It's so important. It's going to take a little digression from where I was planning on going. Has anyone heard the expression culture eats strategy for breakfast? Thought you would have done it, yeah. It's attributed to a chap called Peter Drucker, who is another leading light in change. I doubt it was him, because first reference I can find to it's probably early mid-2000s, and I know Peter Drucker would have been 90 odd at that time, so sadly no longer with us, so it probably wasn't him, but I mean, it's become associated with him, either way. So the culture eats strategy for breakfast. It's basically saying that if you don't get the embedded change in an organisation, you don't change the way that organisation's thinking, it doesn't matter how good your strategy is, it doesn't matter what you put in place, it's going to revert. And I've witnessed this. I'm not going to name the company, but it's a company I was working with a few years back. Spent 18 months with them, got them from, oh my god, the world's falling apart, to, okay, we're fine. Working with some big automotive clients of theirs, as far as I'm going to go and saying who they are, but So rescued the contracts with them, reorganised entirely how the delivery of that team went, reorganised how the sales force went, everything else. 18 months later, looked at it was great, said my goodbyes, thanks very much. And a year and a half later, you wouldn't recognise that anyone had been there. It was back to exactly how it was, everything had changed. A couple of people had left from the chief exec of that organisation had left. The culture wasn't properly embedded through the rest of the organisation, and it went back to exactly how it was. So it doesn't matter how good you think your change is, if you haven't got that culture bit right, it's going to keel over again. So anyway, back to where I was going with this. The area that I like focusing on is this bit here, from the corporate vision down to empowering others. A little bit on from there, but that's more or less it. And what is interesting about this is creating a vision and empowering others. They map really, really nicely to Crew's vision and the Minions tactics. Communicating the vision is the one bit that bugs me about this change model, is it smacks too much of the people at the top telling the people down below what to do. I dislike that, and when I've got introduced to V.M.O.S.T a couple of years back, it really, really smacked home. If we start from the point that you have the vision, you have the tactics, and you haven't got anything else in between, it starts off really, really well. You end up with your grand visionary, saying to the team, we're going to go off in this direction, everything's really G'd up, everyone goes for it, and things look great for a while. But then something happens, and I think anyone who's been in a senior stakeholder position or worked with senior stakeholders or got married will will recognise this. Before long, we all suffer from the ooh shiny moment, and the thing that we're working on is great. But, oh, I want to do that. I want to go and get the next thing, and I want the next thing, and I want the next thing. And you go very, very quickly from everyone going in one direction to somebody comes along and says, oh, I've got this great idea. That vision kind of fits into that. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that to jump along my ideas. And we split the dev team, or the delivery team, or whatever team it might be. And at the moment, that might actually work, but then that happens. And then before long, you've got everyone pulling in every different way. And the one team which could deliver everything brilliantly is suddenly trying to deliver so many things it can't. And you end up with one inevitable result. You've got a burnt out team, totally lacking morale and effectively delivering nothing because they simply can't. And this is where V.M.O.S.T really adds the value for me. So come back to our little triangle with the vision and tactics. Then we add in a few more layers. So we start off with, rather than going directly down, we have mission, objectives and strategy. So what do I mean by that? So the vision, it's our view of where we want to get to. I think we're kind of clear on that. We know that we want to be this thing in the future for the business or whatever. On screen is quite a famous vision statement from a famous company. It's to be Earth's most customer-centric company where customers can find and discover anything they might want to buy online. No prizes, but anyone guess who it is?
Amazon.
Absolutely, yeah. Amazon are quite obviously following something similar to this because they also have a mission statement. I prefer it to be a couple of different ones, but I mean they obviously need to get it into something for a front page of a website. Their mission statement, which is the journeys that they're going to go on to achieve that vision, is where is it? Yeah, here we go. Striving to offer our customers the lowest possible prices, the best available selection at the utmost convenience. So what they're saying is to get on this journey, we're going to go on for 3 missions. One is to offer low prices, one is to give a high selection, and one is to offer convenience. Now, I don't know what their objectives are, obviously because they haven't shared them with me, but and they change. But I can hazard a guess at these. And the objectives are, so we've got our missions set out, we've got our missions set out. What do we need to achieve on those missions? What objectives are we setting ourselves at a lower level? And examples might include, in Amazon's case as a guess, reducing the storage cost for a certain percentage of unit costs. So how do we get the cost down as far as we can? Dispatching a certain percentage of orders within 4 hours. So how can we get the delivery time down as quickly as we can? And meeting the needs of a certain number of small companies. I think there's an advert on TV at the minute which makes it really, really clear. Something like 50% of all stuff sold by Amazon comes from small businesses. So they have to get the needs of these small businesses met to be able to meet the wide range of goods that they sell to us. The next step down is the strategy, how we're going to meet those objectives. So this is quite low level stuff, but I always end up in conversations with leadership when I'm working with companies around, do I really mean this? So is a corporate restructure, is that really so low down in the change tree? Is it an agile transformation, is that so low down? And the answer is yes, because each of these is a tool to achieve something. It's nothing more than that. If a company says, or someone says to you, we're doing an agile transformation because our neighbours are doing it and it's the best thing ever, wrong answer. Has anyone here been involved in the last few years, put your hands up if you have, in either an agile transformation or a corporate restructure? And can you keep your hands up if you knew at the beginning of that exactly what the business objectives were and how you're going to contribute to them? 2 hands up, there's 2 hands remaining. One not sure, possibly. It's fairly common, about 2/3 of hands go down at that point because people are doing things and they don't know why. Tactics, it's the last bit, it's the minions, and the team actually knows what they're doing, working out how to deliver something. So all of that comes down to, so V.M.O.S.T helps align work with goals. It's all it's doing. It's not the only way of doing it, but it is a very, very nice way of aligning what the team is doing with the business goals. And it does that through a couple of different processes. For me, it's separation of responsibility, exactly what Steve was talking about earlier again, so many parallels in the talks. So the vision and the mission are coming from the business up on high. They're saying what we need to be, where we need to, how we need to get there. The strategy and the team the strategy and tactics have to be set by the team. Because when I'm working with a bunch of dev teams, I don't know how to write that code. I don't know how to go about selling this stuff, it's not my area. So there's no point me trying to micromanage and tell people how to do it. So the separation of responsibility into these areas, and they end up always, if you're doing it right, there's area of negotiation in the middle. Typically it centres on the objectives, it goes up and down a bit, but it means that the vision the business leadership want to get somewhere, the team thinks they can get there doing this, can't quite meet on that, what if you do that, just shift these around, and you end up with a negotiated strategy across the whole business. It also makes it very, very agile as well in terms of the way of working, because it sets out, at the top we know what the vision is. Are we on the right mission? Well, we think we are, but we find a better way of doing this. Okay, fine, we can change that because we know it's going to meet our mission, our vision. Further down, have we got the right objectives? Well, if we do that, it's actually going to contribute to our mission a bit better. So all the way down, it allows all these changes because you can cross-reference them against the things further up the change tree, if you like. And it allows us to measure, are we doing the right thing at all given times? So the whole focus on this is about making things a bit more leaner, dealing with the culture side of things. Are we doing the right thing? Not necessarily are we doing it in the right way, but what, are we tackling the thing that's actually going to add value to us?
Isn't this becoming a little bit fluid as well now? Because sometimes vision is actually coming from the bottom up.
It can be, but the decision makers, the ones who are accountable for the business, need to actually make decisions at the top. All of this can come from, I spend a lot of time going through helping people create product backlogs, understanding product management. Ideas can come from absolutely anywhere, but someone has to be accountable for those ideas and set what the direction is actually going. And much as I'd love it to be the team at the bottom, unless you're in a cooperative or something like that, it's simply not going to happen. The reality is that there are some stakeholders the shareholders who appoint a management team who are accountable for delivering that. Like it or not, that's just the reality of business. So they have to be, even if it's not where the ideas are coming from, they have to be the ones who do set out on that direction and know where they're going to go to. So it's taking us from this thing where the business leadership is wow, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to get there, and the team running off in every which way that they can to try and deliver things with a variety of different tactics and probably failing in the process. So having a common strategic direction which has been agreed across the whole business, everybody buys into this. Another way of looking at it, and I can't believe how long it took me to find this picture, is that we go from everyone pulling in different ways to everyone working towards a single sustainable change. That's pretty much where I'm going to go. I'll leave it there, but I'm going to leave you with 3 takeaways as well. First one is don't change for that reason. Single biggest advice I can give anybody thinking about changing anything. If you haven't got a good reason for doing it and you don't know what you're trying to achieve, stop. Second one is management own the problem, team own the solution. Separate responsibilities, use that strategic direction, let the team work out the detail. Don't try and micromanage the team. Again, you'll go flat on your backside, you won't be able to cope with it and everything will keel over and you'll end up with a fight between you and the team. People will walk out and it never ends prettily. And the last one, V.M.O.S.T isn't the only thing around that will help you with this. I've been doing it for years without V.M.O.S.T, but it is a really, really nice tool. If you're struggling to work out how to get from a vision to a set of aligned tactics, use V.M.O.S.T. And that's where I'm going to stop.